Hey Internet, Adrian here for Digital Dojos, and today we're going to talk about supercharging your Windows workflow with Microsoft PowerToys. This is a utility that I highly recommend Windows 10 users check out, whether you're a new user to Windows, whether you're a power user, especially if you're a power user, and even someone like myself who comes from macOS or you use macOS and you switch between the two on a day-to-day basis. This kind of makes that overall transition and cohesiveness that much better. So PowerToys is a set of utilities that's actually a Microsoft developer platform utility that you can download completely free to add multiple utilities built into the Windows OS and just kind of add some features and functionality that I think are lacking in Windows. Again, just really, really useful, pulling everything into one convenient application. So you can download this completely free. I'm going to leave a link down below for the GitHub where you can download the latest version of PowerToys. And once you do so, you're going to be presented with this PowerToys settings. The application is going to live in your taskbar on the bottom right. And when you launch it, you have the ability to adjust the settings for the overall applications, as well as each of the utilities built into PowerToys. Two features I highly recommend turning on are one, always running the application as administrator, because this is just going to give you full access to a lot of these utilities here that require administrator mode to be ran. So it's just easier to always run the app as administrator. Two, I recommend personally having it run in startup. If this is something that you're going to integrate into your overall workflow, it makes it feel more native and easier of an experience when it's always running at startup. So that way, when it reboots or you restart your computer, you don't have to worry about relaunching PowerToys. With that, let's jump right into the utilities. First up is Color Picker. Now, this is one that it's a little bit more niche. If you work in design, video editing, anything that deals with color where you want to get specific values for a color, maybe you see an image on a site and you really want to use that specific color for a logo or something. Windows Shift-C is the default shortcut, but you can go ahead and change this if you prefer. This will bring up a little color picker palette over your cursor. If I hover over a color here, I can simply click and I automatically get the hex and RGB value, as well as the ability to edit the color and fine tune it if I want to get a more specific tone and hue, whatever it may be. Or if I just want to get that specific color, I now have that 100% hex value there at my disposal. You can go ahead and adjust the settings of Color Picker here in the Settings app, adjusting the color formats that you can see if you want to get other values, as well as the behavior when you click after you trigger the shortcut. Again, this is more specific for people who deal with color work. Otherwise, you can simply just toggle it off. Next up is Fancy Zones. This kind of takes Windows overall snap feature and builds it out much more, I think, efficiently and gives you much more options to customize your overall experience for Windows management. Managing Windows within Windows, essentially. So if I launch the layout editor here or use a keyboard shortcut, I can choose a template that I want to use. You can also make custom ones here, and this is really useful if you have a specific monitor resolution or you have multiple apps that you want to sort out here and kind of divvy up the zones. For this purpose, I'm just going to use a priority grid here. I'm going to go ahead and open up Notepad, and you can see if I resize the window here. Let's go ahead and open that Chrome window I had earlier and move it over here. So let's say I want to organize these quickly. I simply hold the Shift key while I drag, assign the zone, let go, and just like this, you can see I can quickly adjust the layout and have the windows automatically adjust to that specific fancy zone layout, in this case, the priority grid. This is the one I use a lot when it comes to like if I'm typing a document, I want to have something to reference on the left here, maybe I have a video on the right, whatever it is, you can adjust the format to your specific workflow, but fancy zones is just really, really powerful. And with that, you can adjust all of the settings for zone behavior. Maybe you want to trigger the zone activation rather than holding Shift. You want to do with a mouse button toggle. You want to override the Windows Snap feature, adjust the layout and appearance of the overall fancy zones. You can do that as well. Have it exclude specific apps from being able to be included in the fancy zones. Whatever you want to do, you can fine tune it here in the actual settings. But if you work with multiple windows or you have a specific workflow, whatever it is, editing documents, etc., definitely worth checking out Fancy Zones. File Explorer add-on simply just adds two extensions of .svg files and markdown files to your preview pane in File Explorer. So if you don't use those file formats or are unfamiliar with what they are, you probably don't have to worry too much about this, or you can turn them off entirely. Image Resizer. As the name implies, if you have images like I do here on the right and you want to resize the image, you simply right-click it, click on Resize Pictures, and automatically define the resolution or the file size, I should say, image size, that you want to readjust the picture to. Now, you can define these settings. These are just the default ones, But for example, ones I would recommend adding for like my own workflow, I should say, is that of things like, for example, a YouTube thumbnail has a specific video or size that I always have to upload when I upload a video. So I can simply take a picture and automatically adjust it to that resolution. Profile pictures, things of that nature. Really useful things that if you have a specific resolution you always have to meet, or you want to do it in 1080p, you can simply define all of that right here. Even choose whether you want it in JPEG, PNG, different formats, all from the settings menu. And then anytime you have an image that you have and you want to resize it to a specific format, simply right click, toggle it, and you're good to go. Next up is Keyboard Manager. If you are somebody who really wants to fine tune your overall keyboard layouts, you want to remap keys to do other things, you want to change shortcuts like you don't like Control-C and Control-V, you can change that. Again, this is really useful if you just want to really fine tune your keyboard layout and overall experience. For some people, for example, I used to use like a Mac-based keyboard with Windows and Mac when I would switch between the two. This allows you to kind of remap that command key to something else. Like if you want it to be the Windows key or you want the Alt key to be the Windows key, you can do that here with Keyboard Manager. Power rename is another context menu thing here. So if you right click on a file or highlight multiple files and right click them, you see you now have something called power rename if you enable this. And as the name implies, this is for bulk renaming files. Really, really useful for like when you're doing a camera dump of an SD card or a video project. You get all these, default file formats. And if you're working on a project and you want them all to have a specific name, well, now you can have it search for a specific, name or convention scheme in a file format and then rename it with something else, and then it'll automatically bulk rename all of those files to your specific preferences here. Again, you can change all of the settings here in the actual PowerToys settings app. Next up, and my favorite feature when it comes to PowerToys, the utility I use the most, is the PowerToys Run. Think of this as Spotlight for the Mac or Alfred for the Mac if you ever use any of those applications. This is a universal search and utility tool for Windows. Yes, you have the Windows search that you can use to find files and applications, but this does it in a little bit more of a cleaner and I would argue faster interface. You trigger the shortcut here, Alt space, similar to that of Mac for Command space. I can simply search up an app here. I can launch Audacity just by clicking on it or hitting enter. I can also use it for other functionalities like searching, of course, file names, but I can do also things like calculations. 500 plus 200, automatically get the calculation, hit enter, and I'll copy to my clipboard. You have some great plugins built in, so you can launch command size scripts, or shell scripts, I should say. You can launch URLs, you can launch programs, you can search for files, you can do calculations, you can shut down your computer or lock it, tell it to go to sleep, all via the PowerToys Run command. Really, really powerful. You can adjust the settings here. I just think a little bit more convenient. And again, if you're used to Mac OS, it makes you kind of feel right at home and adding that functionality to that of Windows. Lastly is Shortcuts Guide. This simply is just a cheat sheet for the Windows built-in shortcuts. If you hold the Windows key, you'll get this overlay that shows you, as long as you're holding the Windows key, all the different things you can do. So if you do Windows key I, that opens settings. If you do Windows key M, it's going to minimize all the windows in the background. Windows key E will open up a file explorer. All these different things that you may not be aware of that are shortcuts in Windows, while you're holding that Windows modifier key, you can do just by holding the Windows key and then clicking any one of these buttons. And then again, just a cheat sheet that you can reference at any time. Again, as a power user, as somebody who uses Windows a lot, keyboard shortcuts and all that are going to really save you time and efficiency over the course of your usage. So definitely worth checking out. And that wraps up PowerToys. Definitely worth checking out again if you are a Windows user and you want to add some more functionality to your overall experience. If you are a Mac user, maybe coming to Windows and you want to get some more familiar interface and tools into your Windows environment. Overall, if you're using PowerToys already, let me know in the comments down below your favorite utility within it. If not, check it out and see what you think because it's completely free. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and show your support by either liking and or subscribing to the channel for more future content. And as always, thanks for watching.